Haichka, Misep Kukwelam. Welcome, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. Many Haichkas to our relative Connie Adams for the table song and singing a blessed tune over our food before we ate and nourished ourselves. Haichka, thank you so much to Wapio and Kukwimosat, Frank Campbell and Angeline Splockton for drumming us in and getting us to start off in a good way and getting our hearts united as one and helping us to put us in the frame of mind to serve our people and our ancestors. And thank you to Seamus and Kylo and our own TFN staff from our Recreation and Events Department for providing that nourishing and fun meal to start us off and make sure that we were nourished before we had to do all of the work that we are preparing for tonight. But before we get to that work, and tonight's business, I'd like to call upon respected Elder Quistania, Ruth Adams, to open us up with prayer together. Haichka Quistania.
Hello, everyone. It's a good evening tonight. I'd like to start off by saying thank you for giving me the honor of saying this blessing for tonight's legislature. So, in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, Amen. Dear Creator, please, first of all, please bless our Chief, Laura Cassidy, and the 4 executive, Valerie Cross, Bryce Williams, Louise Alm, and Baker. Bless them for the work that they have done, and bless the staff for putting this work together with our legislators, and bless all of these beautiful legislators working together to make this the most beautiful and the best First Nation ever in BC. So bless the work that's going to be done. Bless the legislators for the work that they're doing. And also bless all of the committee members that bring the work to chief and legislators. And bless them for all of the work that they do. And for all of the staff that work for Tsawwassen First Nation. And why do we have so much staff, Creator? We have them so that the work will all be done good the first time, that we do not have to do it over again because we'll get it right the first time. So bless the legislators, bless our chief and executive and all of the staff here, and also say a prayer for our CEO for all of the hard work that she does for all of our nation. So, and bless all of the nation, especially Chief and Executive, for bringing our people all back home so that they can feel like they belong somewhere on this earth. So thank you for that. Cannot say thank you enough to the Chief and Executive. All other people are saying we can't really make it because everything is so high priced. But here on Tsawwassen First Nation, our chief and executive and legislators, they make sure that the money coming to the land goes to all the members so that they can make it over the hump for having all of the high-priced food, rents, and for their mortgages. So we thank them, dear Creator. Bless them as they do their work. Just wanted to make sure that our members and all of our neighbors who are watching this legislature know just how well our chief and executive and all our legislators and all of the staff are working for all of the members, keeping them housed, keeping them with food, and keeping them healing for any traumas that they may have. So we have it all here, Creator, and we all thank you for that blessing. I thank you in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. All my relations, all my relations, all my relations, all my relations. just to let you know that when I do those 4 directions, that's a part of our culture. And I wear this regalia because all of our ancestors are here watching all you young ones do your work. So that's why I wear this tonight and all of the time. So thank you.
Oh, Siem Quistania, thank you for your wise and your heartfelt and your thoughtful words. What a perfect way to start off our fall session. I'd like to welcome back each legislature that's now sitting at this table and the ones that unfortunately aren't able to be here today for another exciting fall session. We've got many wonderful things on our agenda, and I'm very happy to see all of your faces around this table that we share our work together at. We have a lot of work to do during this short session, but as usual, I know our legislatures are up to the challenge and are not afraid of hard work and working together and talking together and moving. As we move through each day, I'd like for us to keep our motto in mind as we're working towards this agenda and this calendar agenda for this session, which is Natsamat, for current and future generations. Working together as one for current and future generations. And I'm very proud of this legislature because we seem to be honoring that motto that we've taken on for this session, and it was we always work together and look to each other for our different views, our curious questions, and asking the questions that we need to on behalf of our members. Each question that we ask and each debate that we have and each decision that we vote on, we do so, all of us, for the well-being of our Tsawwassen Misteuch, always with them at the forefront. I would like to take a moment to welcome all the elders that have come to sit with us this evening, to watch us, to lift us up, to support us, to all advisory council members that have taken the time to also come and support us, each community member that has taken the time out of their evening to enjoy a meal with us, to sit with us, and to watch the proceedings, thank you. To all the staff that are here, that are away from their families, to here to support the work, or here because they were told to by their supervisor, or because they're here helping us out. And to those people that are joining us live stream, Heichka, and thank you for being with us, and welcome. And I don't want to forget or leave out a warm welcome to our feather runner, Ryder Slade. He's here again joining us. I'm so glad that he's come back to help us during this session. Thank you, Ryder, for being here, and we look forward to your support during our session and making sure that people are waiting their turn for you to give their feather to them. I would like to remind legislatures and staff to wait until they have the feather before speaking, and to make sure to pass the feather back to Ryder, the feather runner, when finished speaking. Because tonight and following nights, I will enforce a $5 fee for not waiting for the feather. And that amount will go to the feather runner. So I will have to appoint someone to be an enforcement officer for me if that so happens. Maybe I'll get Bryce or Trent to help out with that. Before we get into our agenda, I would like to remind everybody at the legislative table, staff table, and into the gallery to please put your cell phones on mute or vibrate. Make sure they're on silent. I had a reminder earlier when my phone rang, so I have now proceeded to do that. We really would appreciate that because it is a little disruptive. And if you could take your call outside if you need to, that would also, if you have to take the call, please take it outside. I would like to now send regrets from Legislator Sultanat Loretta Williams, Andrea Jacobs Kuyakuya, and Laquolia Tia Williams, who aren't able to join us tonight due to previous commitments, and I ask the Creator to watch them and keep them safe on their journeys, wherever they might be, and a safe journey home, and keep them healthy and safe. So they explicitly wanted to send their regrets for not being able to make it tonight, which, surprising that there's only 3 that couldn't make it, considering that we had to advance the start of this fall session earlier, so that we could get some business done before some certain deadlines. And I also want to mention that Executive Councillor Legislator Taylor Baker will be joining us, but she's unavoidably detained and will be arriving just a little bit later, but she will be here. Heichka. All right, now that all of that preliminary work is done, our first order of business is to move the agenda for the fall 2024 session. During this session, you have the agendas in front of you and it's up on the screen, but I'm just going to read out. We're going to be considering Bill 003, 2024, the Property Tax Amendment Act, Bill 004, 2024, the Membership Act Amendment Act, and a resolution enacting a new Election Act 2025 to replace the current Election Act. We will also be holding the infamous employee affirmation ceremony that we always have at the first meeting of our Legislative Assembly. Here, reports on previous legislator resolutions. Hear an update on the land use plan. We will also hear advisory council reports on Bill 003, 2024, the Property Taxation Amendment Act, Bill 004, 2024, the Membership Act Amendment Act, and the resolution on enacting a new Election Act. We will hear a presentation on an Election Act resolution. We will hear a report from the Enrollment Committee on the Bill 004, 2024, the Membership Act Amendment Act, and we'll hear a Leaseholders Residence Advisory Committee report on the Property Taxation Amendment Act. Additionally, we will have a discussion and the legislature will debate on the next steps for reviewing and amending our legislature's Rules and Procedures Manual. We have a lot of work in which we are doing things where our procedures need to be in alignment, and so we will also make some space on today's agenda, this session's agenda, to talk about our legislature Rules and Procedures Manual. As always, the legislatures will also have the opportunity to introduce resolutions. And the date scheduled for introduction of resolutions is Tuesday, October 29. So please, legislatures, speak to any staff member sometime before then to assist you with drafting a resolution so that we can make sure that we're giving you the proper support you need to get your resolution in and on our agenda for that date. Are there any questions from our legislatures regarding the agenda for this session? As I gaze lovingly upon my Legislative Assembly here. All right, thank you. I will now read the text for the motion and then ask for a mover and a seconder. Heichka. Motion to approve the fall 2024 legislative agenda. Whereas Section 15 of the Tsawwassen Legislature Rules and Procedures requires the legislature to present an agenda to the for a legislative session. Therefore, be it moved that the Tsawwassen Legislature approve the following session agenda. Legislation, Bill 003, 2024, the Property Taxation Amendment Act, 2024. Bill 004, 2024, the Membership Act Amendment Act, 2024. Reports from Advisory Council on Bill 003, 2024. Reports from Advisory Council on Bill 004, 2024. Report from Leaseholder Residence Advisory Committee on Bill 003, 2024. Report from the Enrollment Committee on Bill 004, 2024. Report on past legislature resolutions. Update on land use plan from the Lands Department. Update on administrative legislature facility project from the Lands Department. Report from the Tsawwassen Economic Development Corporation. Resolutions, resolution on proposed draft bill to enact the Election Act 2025, opportunity for legislatures to introduce resolutions, and under other, public service employee affirmation ceremony. Thank you very much. May I ask for a mover? Spiloctowit, Terry Splocton. May I ask for a seconder? Legislature Marianne Adams. All right, I will now call for a vote, and if you could just raise your hands high, then Alex can record the votes. All in favor? All right, it looks like it's unanimous. Motion carried. Thank you so much, legislatures. We got the first piece of important work done, and now the session agenda has been approved, and now we can get down to our business for tonight. The agenda for tonight is as follows. So we have a very full session agenda, and we're going to be moving through it as best we can and still being curious and asking questions and having healthy debate. But I am going to make sure that we stay on target and that we achieve all the things that we're hoping to achieve within the timeline that we've allocated for ourselves. So for tonight, we're going to do our traditional opening remarks from all our legislatures, and Legislature Simsalat, she always gets to go first, so and she loves that. And then we will have the public service affirmation ceremony for, drum roll please, 20 employees. I've been advised of a small amendment. Can I have a friendly amendment on that? That's 22 employees. Wow. Following that ceremony, we will have the reports on previous resolutions from legislatures. Following that, we will hear the update on the land use plan. And then we will move into hearing the introduction and have the first reading of Bill 003-2024, the Property Taxation Amendment Act. And we will also hear the introduction and have the first reading of Bill 004-2024, the Membership Act Amendment Act. Are there any questions from legislatures regarding tonight's agenda? All right, excellent. Let us move now into our opening remarks from our legislatures. I would now like to invite each of my relatives here at the table to take 2 or 3 minutes for their opening remarks for the fall 2024 legislative session. OCM to Legislature Kathy Genge, Simsalat.
Good evening, everybody. It's good to be back at the table again, and welcome to all our new employees and for everybody in the gallery. Thank you to the cooks and the drummers that drummed us in, and for Connie for saying the prayer for the table. And I think this is going to be a good session. Thank you.
OCM Pelihuia, Legislature Don Williams.
Heichka Squeaklesiam, Heichka Rider for the Feather. It's nice to see all of our new staff here. Our little community is not so little anymore. My name is Don Williams, for those who don't know me, and my ancestral name is Pelihuia. And it's nice to be sitting here at this table for our fall session, and I look forward to hearing all of the discussions from our fellow legislators. And thanks to everybody who's involved their time and their hard work for us to sit here over the next few weeks. Heichka.
Heichka Holkomatia, Legislature and Executive Councillor Louise Alm.
Heichka Squeaklesiam, Heichka for the Feather Rider. I'm very excited to be back at the table, and excited to welcome a whole bunch of more staff. We're really growing. Looking forward to the work today, and just want to put a Heichka out to everybody who's contributed to this session, putting the paperwork together, the food and the prayers, and all the members taking the time to witness the work that we do. And I'm going to keep it short so we can kind of catch up. Heichka.
Heichka Spiloctowit, Legislature Terry Splocton.
Heichka Squeakwell, Heichka Feather Runner. Anat Siam Nat Sia Anta Spiloctowit, Terry Tanashwinit Malthna Squeak, Aitnash Qualon Quanasi Quetzaltala. My ancestral name is Spiloctowit. My English name is Terry Splocton. I'm happy to see you all, and welcome to the new staff, and welcome to our members in the gallery and online. Thank you to the cooks, and I had this whole speech in Hunkaminam, but I forgot it, so I guess things happen for a reason, and you just get the short version. Haitsapka.
Haitchka spelachtuit. Tehuilam, Yals Ihuans. Legislature and Executive Councillor Bryce Williams.
OCM CM Yoth Iwans et Tachwelum Thunisqui Talitzin Yoth Swasin Mistech. Good evening, everyone, elders, guests, staff, youth, and fellow legislators, and members in attendance and on the live stream. I just want to say Haitchka to the for the songs and Haitchka for the prayers. Haitchka to the cooks and to our feather runner. I look forward to this fall session and all the work to be done. Welcome here to all the new staff. Mitsap Kukwelam. Haitchka to legislators and staff for making their commitment to be here for this important work. There's a lot of time taken away from families and whatnot, so just really happy to be able to be here to do this work for the community. Haitchka.
Haitchka Yalch Iwans Tehuilam. Legislature Luxton, Trent Genge.
Thank you, Squeako. Thank you, Ryder, for the feather. And I'd like to thank the cooks for the good meal and to nourish everybody. And thank Frankie and Angeline for the song to bring us in. That song brings us strength and brings us together. And I think it's very important for the drum and the blessings of the food and the prayer from Ruth and everything. And I'm really looking forward to this new session and for the discussions and the responses from the employees and everything for that put the work for us. And I'd just like to point out this new thing that Lance gave us with the picture of all their employees is a big help, and I hope every department does it. Everyone's name is a name, but it's better to put the name to the face. And just Hachka to everybody. Thank you.
Haitchka, thank you so much. Squamish Legislature Melinda Cassidy.
Haitchka Squeakwell and Haitchka for the feather. Can you guys hear me? I'd like to welcome all the new staff here and thank all of the staff and everybody that puts all of these meetings together, all of the support that goes into it. It's just an honor to sit at this table, and I'm really looking forward to this session and the important work that we have ahead of us. Haitchka.
Haitchka. Legislature Marianne Adams. Mary.
Haitchka Squeakle CM and Haitchka Ryder for the feather. Thank you everyone for coming out tonight and taking the time to be here to do the affirmation ceremony. Thank you staff for the delicious dinner. I'm gearing up to eat these cookies. I'm really excited. Yes, thank you my grandmother for the prayer and my sister for the song and for Frankie and Angeline. Sorry for forgetting the ancestral name right now, Wapio. But thank you so much for the song, bringing us in. And I just really look forward to this session, getting this good work done. And yeah, moving forward, Haitchka CM.
Haitchka, thank you so very much. I just want to point out on your agenda that there's on the back page of your agenda, there's a listing of probably 20 of the 22 people that are being going through their orientation today. So I think that that's a nice addition to our agenda on this, and we really appreciate that because we really want to know who the people are that are joining our team or have already joined our team but are doing their oath today. So I just want to echo the comments of my relatives at the table here. It is an honor and a privilege to be here at this table and doing the work for Tsawwassen Misteuch. And I also am very honored to be sitting here as the Squeakquill and helping to guide our sessions in a good way where we can talk about things that are important and difficult, but do it with a good heart and a good mind, and to help us get through our agenda in a good way. So I'm not going to take too much of the agenda on speaking, because I get to speak whenever I want. So I'm going to ask our Chief Laura Cassidy Swamasat for her remarks. Echka.
Hutcha Squeakquill and Hutchka for the feather. Yeah, I'd like to just echo what everybody else has said. I just want to thank the cooks for the awesome food, and Quistania for the prayer, and Wapio, and I'm going to try to say it, Quimusat for their song, and for Connie for starting us off in a good way. And I just want to say thank you to all the legislatures for starting this session early, making the time to be here, and thank you to and welcome all the new staff that have joined us this evening. And I'll just sneak in to Marianne that the cookies are really good. And I just want to do a special thank you to all the staff that putting this session together. I know they've been really busy. They just got done with our members gathering, which was really wonderful, and they've been putting in lots of time, and I just want to say it doesn't go unnoticed. So I just want to say special Hutchka for that, and I'll just keep it short too. Thank you. Hutchka.
OSCM Hutchka Chief Swamasat. Thank you so much for all of the legislature's comments. It is important to all of us to be working together and representing our people, and uplifting our traditions and remembering who we are and our culture, and staying connected to the very inherent parts of us that make us Tsawwassen people. So thank you very much. Now we get to move to our next item. I'd like to call on Chief Swamasat again and our Human Resources Manager, David, for our next agenda item, our Public Service Affirmation Ceremony. I now hand the floor over to you, David, and to you, Chief, and to our new staff. Hutchka.
Hutchka, Squeakquill. Under Section 14 of the Government Employees Act, we ask all new employees to participate in a Tsawwassen Public Service Affirmation Ceremony. The ceremony must include a pledge of honor, respect, and confidentiality. The purpose of the ceremony is to ensure that the employees understand that they're making a commitment to Tsawwassen First Nation, and that the employee pledges to honor and respect Tsawwassen members, history, and culture. To ensure that the employee understands the importance of confidentiality when under employment with Tsawwassen First Nation. To provide the employee with a basic working knowledge of the governance structure of Tsawwassen First Nation necessary for their employment. To provide the employee with a basic working knowledge of the Tsawwassen First Nation community and its history and culture. And finally, to provide the employee with acts, plans, and policies and other documents with critical information about the goals of Tsawwassen government and rules and expectations governing their employment. At this point, I would like to ask Chief Cassidy to say a few words before we continue.
Thank you, David, and welcome to our new employees. The Tsawwassen people have exercised sovereign authority over Tsawwassen lands for thousands of years. The Tsawwassen people now exist as part of two worlds, traditional and modern day. On the treaty effective date,
April 3, 2009, we asserted our inherent right to self-government and instituted a system where the two worlds can coexist. One of these laws requires the new employees participate in an affirmation ceremony to make a public service pledge to Tsawwassen First Nation and to the Tsawwassen members. By making this pledge, new employees acknowledge their responsibilities and affirm their intent to work to do the best of their abilities on behalf of the Tsawwassen First Nation. Haichka. And welcome again to the new employees.
Thank you. That's the code for assembling in this area, all the new employees. There are 22 new employees with us tonight who we've hired since last Legislative Assembly. I'll ask each of these new employees to step forward and give a little wave before they walk over to meet the chief to sign their oaths as I give a brief introduction. And after the introductions, they'll go back to where they are standing over there and read the oath all together. I think we've got everyone there. Thank you. Wow. Okay. So now for the affirmation ceremony introductions, I'll start with introducing Grace Cheng. Is Grace? Come on over here. Grace, who joined the Smuckwalelam daycare team as an early childhood infant toddler worker, following the completion of her basic ECE certificate program and post-ECE certificate program at Delta School District Continuing Education, she worked for 3 years in a toddler program at a licensed group daycare in Richmond. Welcome, Grace. James Ropel. James joined the Youth Center team as a child and youth worker. He's Indigenous from Dene Nation from Toledo, Northwest Territories. Prior to joining TFN, James was an Indigenous Cultural Liaison support worker at Rain City Housing, as well as a support worker at Luma Native Housing Society. James is currently working towards his social work college diploma. Welcome, James. Ibe Ebuka joined the Youth Center team as a child and youth worker. He comes to us from the working in similar roles with Strive Living Society, Lookout Health Society, and Nest Wellness. Ibe has a master's degree in business administration, as well as a master's in labor and industrial relations. Welcome, Ibe. Kendall Boyd. She joined the health team as a community support worker. She has worked as a facilitator in an alcohol and drug recovery and education society, as well as a recovery coach, support worker, and house monitor for an addiction treatment center for women and youth. Welcome, Kendall. Cassette Tetmeyer. She joined the health team as a community support worker. Prior to joining TFN, she worked as a residential health care aide. Cassette has a Bachelor of Arts degree with a major in psychology from UBC. Welcome, Cassette. Sue Blum Cadot joined the health team as a community support worker. Following her completion of basic counseling skills training at Vancouver Community College, Sue is changing career paths, drawing from her 25 plus years of entrepreneurial and management experience to focus on TFN community work. Welcome, Sue. Renalyn Aquino joined the health team as a licensed practical nurse. She worked as an LPN at Delta View Life Enrichment Center, as well as being a community health worker at Fraser Health Authority, plus 5 years prior experience as a healthcare aide. Renalyn obtained her practical nursing diploma from CDI College. Welcome, Renalyn. Sophia Manella Joined the Youth Center team as a child youth worker. For the past 3 years, Sophia has been working as an education assistant for the Delta School District. She has an education assistant diploma from CDI College. Welcome, Sophia. Carmen McLaughlin joined the health team as our manager of health. She's Indigenous from Saisi Dene Nation. Prior to joining TFN, she was the Indigenous Public Health Manager at UBC. She brings years of experience, including Vancouver Health, Coastal Mental Health, and helping Spirit Lodge Society in roles such as community liaison worker, Indigenous wellness liaison, and an intensive case manager. Welcome, Carmen. Rowan Harris joined the Policy and Intergovernmental Affairs team as a policy analyst. Rowan started with TFN a couple of years ago, actually, as a policy intern before joining us as a regular full-time employee this year. She has a Bachelor of Arts degree with a major in history from Vancouver Island University, as well as her Master of Public Administration from UVic. Welcome, Rowan. Maura Gowans joined the facilities team as our Manager of Family Services. She's Indigenous from Dene from Tulita Northwest Territories. She has extensive experience, including being the Executive Director of the Aboriginal Mothers Center Society, the Director of Residential Programs, and also the Director of Residential Programs, same thing, from Tira Women's Resource Society. She has a Master's of Social Work from the University of Victoria. Welcome, Maura. In the Municipal Infrastructure team, we have Arash Akbarnajad, who joined the Engineering and Capital Programs team as an engineering inspector. He brings several years of relevant experience as an inspector and structural engineer. Arash has a master's degree in structural engineering in integrated wood design building from UNBC. Welcome, Arash. Justin St. John joined the facilities team as a facilities worker. He is a TFN member. He's a Finnish carpenter with over 8 years of construction experience, which includes drywalling, boarding, and painting. Welcome, Justin. William Tate joined the facilities team as a facilities maintenance worker. He's Indigenous from Gitxsan First Nation. He has over 25 years of construction experience, including exterior finish installation, framing, foundation work, cabinet installation, and painting. Welcome, Will. Robin Burgess joined the Public Works team as a Public Works landscape and parks worker. Some of Robin's previous work was on TFN lands as a landscape installation laborer for Fairways Landscaping. He completed his diploma in Sustainable Resource Management, which was a program at BCIT. Welcome, Robin. Kyla Giles, or Kayla, thank you, joined the sewer treatment plant team as a utility operator 1. She brings wastewater collections operation experience that includes maintaining the wastewater collection infrastructure for the city of Langford, along with operating a water plant, treatment plant in Victoria. She has a Bachelor of Applied Science in Chemical and Biological Engineering from UBC. Welcome, Kayla. Thomas McCauley joined the sewer treatment plant team as a utility operator 1. He's Indigenous from Cree Nation and a TFN member spouse. He brings a wide variety of experience in various fields, including as a truck driver, pipeline worker, and security professional. Welcome, Thomas. In the territory management division, we have Dion Baker, who joined the Natural Resources team as a Natural Resources Enforcement Officer. She's Indigenous from Haida and Squamish Nations and a TFN member spouse. Dion, or Cakes, as she likes to be called, has over 2 years of experience working in the natural resources field. She has a varied experience, including being the head chef at West Coast Fishing Club in Haida Gwaii and being a small business owner in Ladner. Welcome, Cakes. In the General Counsel division, we have Callum Robinson. He joined the communications team as a manager of communications. He's Indigenous from Métis Nation from Red River Settlement and Turtle Mountain. Prior to TFN, he was the communications manager for Métis Nation, British Columbia. He brings over 6 years of experience in communications, public affairs, and public relations. He has a marketing management diploma in communications from BCIT. Welcome, Cal. In lands, we have Christy Schwede, joining the lands team as a lands assistant. She brings over 20 years of customer service support and administrative procedure experience. Most recently, she worked as an administrative assistant for an insurance company and a project coordinator for a real estate development design firm. Welcome, Christy. Anmel Anand joined the planning team as a planner too. He brings over 6 years of experience in planning, including the last 3.5 years in BC local government. He moved to join us from Kitimat, where he was a planner at the District of Kitimat. He has a Master of Urban Planning from McGill University and a Bachelor of Planning. Welcome, Anmol. And last but not least, we have Ghazaleh Akbernajad, who joined the Lands and Housing team as a Planner 1 Housing. Most recently, she was a housing design project coordinator at BC Society of Transition Houses. She has a Master of Urban Studies from SFU and a Master of Science degree in Architectural Engineering. Welcome, Ghazaleh. And now, I'm going to ask the group to do the read the public service affirmation, which you all should have in your hands unless you've memorized it. So I will start you off with a slow and steady count. So 1, 2, 3, and then you start. Okay? So 1, 2, 3. It really does get better every time. I don't know how. Thank you. This concludes this session's new employee affirmation ceremony. Haichka.
Oh, CM. Welcome to all of our new employees. We officially welcome you, and we are eager to see you to continue or start your good work within your respective departments. That was a pretty good reading. I think you guys did amazing for having a large crowd. We'll take a small 5-minute break to allow our guests to depart and allow us to move on to our agenda. 5 minutes, legislatures. Haichka. That was amazing. They did great. Okay, where's the session agenda? Just so I can look at it.
I think the first one there. Oh, that is a spray. I thought it was water.
It was an accident.
I don't really like pop it all. So.
Haichka legislatures, are we all returned here? Oh, I see, we're almost ready. If everybody in the gallery can find their seats as well, that would be greatly appreciated. All right, welcome back, everyone. I just want to point out I'm loving the Tsawwassen legislature mugs and water bottles so that we can fill up with filtered water. Thank you, staff, for organizing that for us. I'm going to make good use of that, make sure that we fill it up with coffee and water, and so we can make sure that we're saving a little bit of extra plastic. So thank you very much. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to Legislature and Executive Councillor Taylor Baker, and I would like to give her an opportunity to allow her to have some opening remarks. Legislature Taylor.
Haichka for the Feather Rider. I almost owed you some money right away. Yeah, thank you, everybody, and my apologies for my tardiness tonight. So good evening. It's great to see you all here. For those who don't know me, my name is Taylor Baker, and I'm a member of Executive Councillor. I want to extend a big welcome to our new staff. For those who decided to stick around, my apologies for missing your affirmation ceremony, but it's great to see more of our members and member spouses here employed at our nation. I wish all you guys here the most success, and to those I haven't met yet, look forward to getting to know you better. So since our last session in February, our nation has achieved many milestones and witnessed remarkable progress. We celebrated the highest amount of student graduates in our history of our nation. Our annual Indigenous Peoples Day saw the largest turnout to our lands for celebration. And additionally, planning for the new administration and legislature building has been both ongoing and very productive. And we've been making great strides towards our housing goals. So Haichka to our staff and our leadership for all the success that we've had to celebrate over the last few months. I'm excited about this session and look forward to collaborating on our important work together. I'll just keep it short. Haichka.
Haichka Legislature Taylor Baker. Before we move on to the next piece of business, I just want to make a small amendment to the motion for the session agenda. It seems that I mentioned that we are going to have a report from the Tsawwassen Economic Development Corporation, and as much as I love putting Ryan on the hot seat, there is no such report for this particular agenda. So what I would like to do is just have a motion to approve the session agenda as amended. So all the other items, the two bills, the two amendment bills, Bill 003 and 004, those two amendments. The 7 reports, 2 from Advisory Council, 1 from the leaseholder residents, 1 from the Enrollment Committee, a report on the past resolutions, an update on the land use plan, and an update on the Administration Legislative Facility Project, and then 2 resolutions on a draft bill for the Election Act and legislature resolutions, and then the one that we already had was the public service affirmation ceremony. So just so that we have everything correct and accurate in our record, I want to remove the report from the Tsawwassen Economic Development Corporation report, looking for a mover and a seconder to accept the session agenda as amended. Tehuilam is a mover, Legislature Bryce Williams, and seconded by Legislature Spiloktuit Terry Splokton. All in favor for the amended session agenda, please raise your hands high. It's unanimous. The motion is carried. Thank you very much for helping me out with that little bit of proceedings. So let's get into the first report on previous resolution. This is our first business agenda item on our table tonight. And I'd like to call up our interim Chief Administrative Officer, Quintiltonot Kim Bear, to provide this report. Quintiltonot?
Good evening, everyone. It's good to see you all. I'm pleased to present the report on previous resolutions tonight. The report on previous resolutions is an important part of each legislative session, as you're all aware, and it provides staff the opportunity to provide progress updates on the resolutions that have been passed by the Legislative Assembly here. So the purpose of the report is to provide accountability and transparency to you all on how the resolutions you approved are being considered and actioned. And in the report, I'll provide an update on the most recent resolutions and provide status updates on several other resolutions. But before I get into that, I want to provide an update on our internal process. As you know, resolutions are non-binding expressions of the will of the legislature and are used to direct Executive Council to examine legislative, regulatory, or policy options on a particular topic. And Executive Councils ask that staff bring more structure to the process to ensure that resolutions are brought to the Executive Council table for consideration in a timely and informed way. So going forward, I'll be working with staff to assign a lead to every resolution approved in the session. They'll be responsible for conducting initial analysis about the feasibility, potential impacts, costs, and other resource needs to implement a resolution so that Executive Council can make an informed decision about whether to implement it. This is a simple process, but by clarifying the roles and responsibilities, we believe this will bring more focused attention to the ideas you all agree on. Another change you may notice in the report is that we are now reporting only on the resolutions from this term of government. If you would like to see continued action or to continue receiving updates on resolutions from previous terms, we encourage you to bring it forward again. This provides the opportunity to raise awareness of the issue again and for Executive Council to reconsider the resolution in the current context of the government plans and activities. Finally, I want to mention that I've directed staff to work on a guide to support legislators with crafting effective resolutions, which I hope to roll out to you all next year. So now I'll move on to the report. The report itself has two components. The first couple of pages are the most recent status updates, and that is followed by a list of all resolutions from this term of government. The first update is on the resolution to consider amendments to the TFM procurement policy, and this is a good example of our new process. I have assigned a lead, and I understand that analysis of this potential change is underway and coming to Executive Council for decision in the near future. You may note a new status on the table below of staff analysis to indicate this. The second update is on the resolution to develop a TFN book. In September 2024, Executive Council approved a 10-year plan to use funding for language and culture revitalization connected to a class action suit that we took part in. That 10-year plan includes a book, and work is proposed to begin once funding is received next fiscal year. Next is the resolution to examine providing health and family services to members 7 days a week. While it's currently not possible to provide all services every day, the HFS department has made a number of changes in response, which include HFS staff are on call 24/7, and we are developing after hours and on-call policies and procedures so members in need of support can connect with staff at any time. Nurse practitioner hours have been extended to Saturdays and Sundays. The substance use support coordinator's hours will be Wednesdays to Sundays to ensure weekends are covered. Efforts have been made to extend some programming such as Wilbriety and step groups after working hours. Lastly, staff are operating the Children's Respite Home 24/7. Families that need extra support can access wraparound services and TFM programs to keep Tsawwassen families together. Staffed by close community contacts, services include, but are not limited to, family reunification, parenting programs, mental health services, and cultural healing supports. Next is the resolution on reviewing use of TFN member programs. This is quite a big initiative, and we are coming at it from a few different angles. As you'll see in the report, our member services departments, under the direction of Crystalline Gurniak, have worked to expand programming in several areas where needed was identified, including in recreation and events, elders programming, food security, and access to medical services. The community safety strategy work and the HFS policy needs project are evaluating existing programs and identifying gaps where members may benefit from new or enhanced programming. And from a more structural and long-term standpoint, staff are working on two initiatives that include evaluation components. The community safety strategy is looking at current programming to identify gaps in relation to community safety, and the evaluation project, which is expected to begin in January 2025, will include a culturally informed, community-based research element, citizen census, and a youth photo voice project. On the resolution regarding amendments to the Health and Social Services Program Policy, there is quite a bit of work underway. Our Health and Family Services team is working on the policy team and also, or with the policy team, and also with an external contractor to develop a suite of new policies and to update current ones. And next, on the resolution on awareness to support members suffering from disordered eating, the Health and Family Services Department has onboarded a doctor and 2 psychiatrists to provide relevant support. Staff have been supporting members through the treatment process and are providing supportive aftercare. Staff are also incorporating disordered eating in their policy work and building partnerships for additional support. Just a couple more to go. On the resolution related to a TFN member's website or app, staff are still working on options. Many of you know we recently added a manager of communications and engagement to our staff, and Cal will play a big role in this one. On the resolution to develop and implement mandatory training programs within Tsawwassen government for elected and appointed positions, staff have been thinking about this internally, and we met with legislators at the recent Whistler strategic planning session to discuss possible training models and to obtain feedback from legislators. Staff will continue to work on training incorporating feedback from legislators. Finally, the resolution to amend the Election Act. I'm very pleased that there is a resolution seeking legislative approval for development of the proposed amendments that you will be considering later this evening. And that is the report on previous resolutions. Thank you, legislators, and I'm happy to try to answer any questions you may have. I may have to call on some others from my team to help, though. Heichka.
Heichka Quintiltonut. Wow, there is certainly a lot of progress to be proud of, that we're inspired by the legislature resolutions and that staff took on and developed work that honored those resolutions. Thank you for that presentation. Legislators, are there any questions or comments with respect to this update? Legislature Tehuilam, Bryce Williams.
Heichka Quintiltonut for the presentation. Just curious about resolution -001-2023. The resolution to examine providing services to members 7 days per week. I think part of that discussion in the last session was around mainly, or I think if I recall correctly, that it might have been mainly focused or centered around the youth center, and if that was if there's going to be any ability for Sundays for the youth center to be open. And I forget if this was already addressed already. I forget if we discussed this or not, if there's a change to that at all. So if any update is available for that, that'd be much appreciated. Heichka.
Heichka Tuhuilam Quintiltonot.
I almost answered right away, which would have meant monies for someone. But the last I talked to Crystalline about that issue, the various times that the youth center have offered programming on Sundays and different hours has had very limited success. So I don't know if the evaluation program we're going to undergo early next year will help gain insight over what type of programming youth would, there'd be a better uptake. We seem to have gaining more traction with some of the programming offered right now, and hopefully we can learn from that as well. But I think it's something that staff will continue to examine regularly.
Heichka Quintiltonot. Any other questions or comments from legislatures? Heichka Quintiltonot, thank you very much for that report, and I appreciate the work that's going into improving this process as well. Not just the process of how we develop our resolutions, but the process of how we're being accountable and having staff lead on each of these resolutions so that we can see how we can integrate them into our programming and fulfill the wishes of the legislature and see whether things and how things are feasible or practical to implement, and making sure that we're doing our due diligence in that work. So really appreciate that evolution and growth of this very, very important process that we have in our Legislative Assembly. Now I'd like to move to the next item, and I'd like to invite Komal, our Director of Lands, to present an update report on the land use plan. Komal?
Heichka Squeakle CM, Heichka Federana. Great to be here this evening. I'm just going to take 5 minutes, 10 minutes to go through a little bit of a background on our current land use plan and the work that we are undertaking to update our land use plan. That's just a brief agenda. I'm just going to move on here. So land use planning is a way to assert rights over our lands. And it's also a process to identify and protect and develop based on the needs and values and priorities of a community. And it's also a way to manage conflicts and set a foundation for wise decisions in the future about the land. Our current land use plan, as everyone knows, was developed right before the treaty came into effect, and it focused on asserting our rights over the land and ensuring the economic sustainability of our nation and its membership. Over the past 3 years, we conducted intense community engagement for the Kwaliwan Stokes Kwatasia Nast Honoring Our Ancestors Charter, and we heard several community priorities. And one of them was that our next land use plan should focus on environmental sustainability, protecting and preserving special places on our sacred land, its Keketamak, and that it should be rooted in the Swatan culture. Taking this into account, we started the process of looking at updating our land use plan for current and future generations. And in addition to the guidance found in our final agreement and our laws and regulations, we now had the additional vision set out and endorsed by Executive Council in the Charter. So in 2023, we started the process of updating our land use plan with a kickoff workshop at our members gathering 2 years ago. And we connected with our membership on whether the vision of our original land use plan still held true or if it needed additions. And we also conducted some engagement on the Canoe Pass lands, the 13-acre parcel and the mixed-use area. And we continued through the fall, through offline's engagement with our membership in Vernon and Bellingham, online and through family meetings, offering summary of the input that we'd received at the members' gathering through the fall of 2023. And earlier this year, we've continued to work on our mixed-use strategy that focuses on our commercial lands. And we're also completing a community assessment, complete communities assessment, so that the work that we conduct is rooted in community, but it's also evidence-based. So we reached out to our membership through a number of different ways. As you see, we had community meetings, family meetings, Zoom meetings, through email, through using our website and social media, and then a number of surveys as well. And at the 2023 members gathering, we heard that we needed to pay more attention to an increase in our land base and to incorporate social wellness additional facilities to get positive community outcomes and a focus on sustainability in all its different implications. For the Canoe Pass lands, we received a wide variety of ideas from the membership, including animal and crop farming, preserving the wetlands and the habitats over there, piloting forestry and hunting areas. And we also heard about the 13-acre parcel from our membership for the need for additional a member area that was more mixed use and community-based, just like our current community. So just a little snapshot of where we've come from the 2009 land use plan. Our land area actually, due to the incorporation of the Brunswick Point lands earlier this year, has increased by 173 acres or 80 hectares, which brings more lands into our jurisdiction. We also looked at the considerations for the different areas that were looked at in 2009, the agriculture, industrial, community, leasehold, and mixed-use areas. And we are starting to work with our language and culture team to understand these themes with the use of the Hunkaminam language, as well as not using a colonial structure of the land use plan, looking at how things are connected. So for example, the community area is called Being Good Neighbors. And I'm happy to report that we have an addition of 79 units in our member area, community area, over the last 15 years. Particularly in the last year, we had 54 units. So here are some numbers on what our community's needs are going to be for member housing. I'm not going to go into that right now, but I just wanted to share the work that's underway and whether we're starting to look at whether we'll have enough lands to accommodate the needs of our future generations. For the industrial and mixed-use areas, we have had tremendous developments. Our industrial lands, as everyone knows, we have about 114 acres developed, and we have 180 acres remaining. Ryan's got the employment industrial land strategy well underway. We are beginning to look at a market study and then developing a secondary plan for the industrial areas. For the mixed-use areas, we're looking at a market study as well as doing a development strategy for those in the future. And we have about 100,000 square feet remaining of the mixed-use area, the commercial area, to be developed under the old land use plan. And that's just a graphic of the mixed-use area and how things have come to be and how there are still opportunities to master plan on those lands so that the facilities that we need for us to be a complete community are still accommodated within our lands. The agricultural land base has grown tremendously. As we mentioned before, we've added the 70 hectares. And we are, through the treaty review process, are also looking at potential uses that are more culturally aligned and serving the needs of the community through that review process. We've talked about the farm and the members gathering that's thriving. I'm happy to report that we've got just in 2020, since 2021, we've had 15,000 pounds, or the equivalent of 18,000 meals for TFN members and TFN programs. It's continuing to grow and thrive. And now we're thinking of other ways in which this small-scale success can be replicated on our other agricultural land holdings. Just want to take a pause here and just say that while our first land use plan was something that was where we were on a timeline and we had to think quickly on our feet and ensure that we had the tools we needed to enable the development potential that was unlocked by our treaty, we have the opportunity to take pause this time. And we've been hearing a lot from our membership on how we need to focus more on preserving and protecting that which makes our lands important and precious to us. We've heard about the need to hold on to culture, art, and nature. And so we're also looking at a storytelling approach to our land use plan update. Recently at the members gathering, we engaged with the membership through many games, through the land use planning carnival, but we also had Isaac Williams and 20 of our members to give us interviews on their memories of Strawson lands and their aspirations and how they feel about things that have worked and not worked well, trying to put together into a film in the future. I just wanted to share a glimpse of all the input that we collected that's so precious. And over the next year, we'll continue to engage with the community in many different ways because we want to make sure that we're collecting your voices and your priorities into this important work. Hajka CM.
Hajka Komal for that great presentation update on the land use plan. Legislators, are there any comments or questions for Komal on this report? Alrighty then. Thank you so much, Komal, for that very thorough report with excellent graphics and references and explanation to the progress and the consultation and engagement. It's always great to also have our youth voice included in this work and being involved in that. And it's great to see that Isaac had so many participants for that interview. Hajka. I'd now like to move on to our next piece of business. I would like to, the introduction of the Property Taxation Amendment Act. I'd like to now call upon Chief Squamish Laura Cassidy to speak about Bill 003-2024, the Property Taxation Amendment Act, and then who will then read the motion and to introduce the bill. Chief?
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Executive Council and as Chief of Tsawwassen First Nation, I'd like to begin by thanking all the members who are joining us, as well as staff who have gathered to support us. I also want to thank my fellow legislative assembly members. I recognize that this session is being held earlier than normal, and I appreciate that you have arranged your schedules to accommodate this. We know that in doing this work, you're spending time away from your friends, family, your children, and your responsibilities. We are very appreciative of your commitment to your roles as legislatures and your effort in helping us tackle this busy agenda. The first bill I'll be introducing tonight, the Property Taxation Amendment Act 2024, is the reason why our session is being held earlier than normal this year. Property taxes have played an important role in our nation's success. They have enabled the Tsawwassen government to build roads, parks, water systems, sewage treatment facilities, and other pieces of infrastructure that our community lacked before treaty. For many years, TFN had little control over its property tax system and was subject to a rigid set of rules imposed by British Columbia. This changed earlier this year when the province passed the Treaty First Nation Property Taxation Enabling Act and signed a new property tax agreement with TFN. Under this new agreement, TFN has greater control over how property taxes are administered and can develop a system that best suits the needs of our community. Taking advantage of this new flexibility requires TFN to amend its Property Tax Act. That is the purpose of this bill. I will now read a motion to introduce Bill 003-2024, the Property Taxation Amendment Act 2024. Motion to introduce Bill 003-2024, the Property Taxation Amendment Act 2024. Whereas under the new Provincial Treaty First Nation Property Taxation Enabling Act, British Columbia has delegated broad authority to Treaty First Nations to develop their own property tax laws. And whereas Tsawwassen First Nation has entered into a new real property taxation agreement with British Columbia that provides Tsawwassen First Nation the authority to collect property taxes from non-member residents and leaseholders on Tsawwassen lands. And whereas under this new approach, Tsawwassen First Nation may make laws in respect to property taxation in accordance with new real property tax agreement to take effect in 2025. And whereas the proposed amendment set out in Bill 003-2024 will benefit Tsawwassen First Nation by providing tools to set property tax rates for commercial properties that are fair and competitive with other jurisdictions in the Lower Mainland, and to collect delinquent property taxes that are owed to Tsawwassen First Nation. Therefore, be it moved that Bill 003-2024, the Property Taxation Amendment Act 2024, be introduced for the Tsawwassen Legislature's consideration, debate, and approval.
Thank you, Chief Squamosset. Chief Squamosset has moved the motion. May I have a seconder? Tehuilam is seconded the motion. We can now vote on the motion. Please raise your hand high if you're voting. When you're voting, all in favor, please raise your hand. All right, the vote is unanimous. The motion is passed. We have now tabled this bill. I would now like to thank you, legislators. I would like to call upon Mark DeMello, Director of Finance and Corporate Services, to give us a brief overview of Bill 003-2024. Mark?
Haichka Squeakle CM, Haichka Rider for the Feather. Legislators, as Chief said when she introduced the bill, the Property Taxation Amendment Act is the way we tax non-members, and treaty nations have always had the ability to tax their own members or citizens, but for us to be able to extend that to non-members, we're required to enter into a tax agreement with either BC or Canada, depending on the jurisdiction. Because property taxation is a provincial jurisdiction, we've needed to enter into an agreement with BC. So we've had a property tax, real property tax coordination agreement since the effective date of treaty. We've been charging property taxes for many, many years. And as, again, the introduction that Chief said, that's been a major revenue source for us to be able to undertake many of the infrastructure and other services on our lands. The old requirements were very stringent. We pretty much had to follow the rules that were in the community charter that applied to all municipalities. And because of that, the needs didn't always match the needs that Treaty First Nations had. And that was something that all Treaty First Nations have been working with BC on, is to try and get a bit more flexibility to be able to meet the needs that each nation has individually. So as of this year, BC has chosen to delegate broad authority to Treaty First Nations. This allows us to have pretty flexible property taxation acts. The old rules are in effect until the end of 2024, but the new broad delegation approach is in effect for 2025 and subsequent. Under the new approach, we have a lot of flexibility, and I'll just skip through to the next slide. We can now set different classes of persons, places, things, circumstances, and we can set different property tax provisions for each of those classes. That's a lot of flexibility, and it's really important that as we take advantage of that flexibility, we don't result in unintended consequences. And so staff are going to be doing a very full analysis of all the options available for TFN, and we'll bring them to EC for review. And then we can then update legislature in the future on what amendments may be required. For now, though, there are two important changes that require amendment that EC has approved that we bring forward for your consideration. And again, as Chief mentioned earlier, this is one of the reasons that we're meeting early, is because the property taxation amendments to the Property Taxation Act need to be completed by October 31st in order to be given to BC Assessment, so that when they prepare the 2025 roll in the next 3 months, they can do it with the new legislation in place. So again, my apologies to all of you for bringing you earlier than usual, but I really appreciate your flexibility. So the two areas that we're proposing for amendment are breaking the current Class 6 commercial assessments into two subclasses. One subclass would be called Class 6-warehouse, and the other would be Class 6 other than warehouse. I'm not super creative with names, but kind of captures it all. And then the second thing we're going to do in this amendment is set up a tax sale process. So I'll very quickly explain the reasons why. So creating a subclass within Class 6 really is because assessments, when they vary, they can vary either because of growth or market value changes. And what has happened typically, and what pretty much all local governments in BC do, is we use the market value change to adjust the property tax rate or the mill rate. What's happened over the last several years is that warehouses have seen very large increases in assessment. In 2024, for example, there were 17.8%. But the other component of this sector, which is largely our malls, the retail sector, they saw a large decrease. Well, they saw a decrease. And so when one sector is going up 18% and the other sector is going down 4 to 5%, and that sort of trend has been happening for a number of years, one of the issues we run into is that the tax burden within the property class has shifted from the retail sector to the warehouse sector. TFN's not collected a lot more money. Over the last 5 years, we've had a 20% increase, which is about 4 or 5% a year, which is very much in line with what all other local governments in the Lower Mainland have done. But the warehouse taxes have almost doubled because of their increase in assessments, whereas the mall taxes are almost half of what they are off TFN lands on a per square foot basis. Because we've only been able to set one tax rate for the whole class in the past, we haven't been able to address this. The new amendment that we're proposing in this Taxation Act will split the classes between the warehouse sector, where we can set one tax rate, and then the retail and other sector, where we can set a separate tax rate, and then we can target both classes a little bit more closely. So the way the amendment works is there is a new definition. The definition, there are actually two new definitions. One definition is of what a property class is, and it's pretty much what is in the BC Assessment Act, with the exception of Class 6, where we now have the two subclasses. And then a property taxation role definition, which allows Executive Council to approve a regulation that has a map that says this area is the warehouse area, and then the rest of TFN lands are other than warehouses. And that allows BC Assessment to then assess accordingly. The second change we are asking for in this amendment is to set up a tax sale process. So currently, enforcement of unpaid taxes, we first need EC's prior authorization, and then any unpaid taxes would need to go, we'd need to go to court and obtain a judgment against the taxpayer that had delinquent taxes. And then once we have that judgment, we have to find a way to actually enforce the judgment to be able to collect the taxes. So it's a long and complicated and pretty costly process to undertake. The tax sale process is used throughout BC in the municipal sector. And for them, if a property goes to tax sale, it can be sold at public auction for a price that is at least equal to the unpaid taxes. So if you think about somebody that has $20,000 in delinquent taxes on their property, maybe they haven't paid for 3 years or 4 years, and the property goes up for tax sale and they could possibly lose $1 million property for $20,000, that is extremely strong incentive for the taxpayer to make payment. Without that mechanism, as I said in the past, we would have had to spend a lot of money to enforce a judgment. So with our new tax sale process that we're proposing in the Act, and there's a whole new set of sections that we would be adding to the Act, the way our process would work is, in a typical year, your taxes are due on July the 2nd. If by the end of the year, or 6 months later, the taxes are still unpaid, then the tax administrator, me, issues the tax arrear certificate. If 18 months later, those taxes are still unpaid, then I would deliver a notice of tax sale. At this point, the taxes have been outstanding for 2 whole years. There would still be another 6 months for the properties to pay their taxes off. But if 6 months later, so 2.5 years after the taxes were due, they're not paid, the property can then be sold at tax sale. Our process ensures that there is a lot of notification so that the owners, anybody with liens on the property or a mortgage on the property is all informed. So it isn't really easy for people to simply lose their property to tax sale. There is a very thorough process of information. But once the property is sold at tax sale, the owner has 3 more months in which to redeem their property with full payment of the amounts outstanding that were paid for the property plus interest. Otherwise, the interest in their lease would transfer, which means if you've got a 99-year lease on a home and you haven't paid your taxes and you're 5 years in, and we sell the lease, or we tax sale the lease, we are then able to evict the owner and resell that lease to a new resident. This is a really powerful mechanism. In the history of most municipalities, the threat of tax sale means that taxes are paid. Very few properties, if ever, actually sell at tax sale with a formal transfer. Our process would be taking us from a disadvantaged collection enforcement process to one that is on par with other local governments in BC. Hajka Squeakle CM, I hope that was a relatively succinct explanation, and I'm happy to answer any questions that legislatures may have.
Hajka, Mark, thank you so much for that presentation. Legislators, just a reminder that this is first reading, so if you have any questions or clarification questions about the bill, now is the time to ask those questions. But I don't want you to forget that we will have the opportunity for full debate and broader questions during second reading. So we're still in first reading. Any questions or clarification questions about the bill at the moment? All right, thank you. I would now like to refer the bill to Advisory Council for study and ask for a motion to move the bill to second reading. So I'm going to read this motion, and then I'm going to ask for a mover and a seconder. So I'll just read the motion. I'll ask for a mover and a seconder so that we can move this bill to second reading. Motion to move Bill 003-2024, the Property Taxation Amendment Act 2024, to second reading. Whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature has the authority under Section 512C of the Constitution Act to enact Tsawwassen laws. And whereas under the Legislature Rules and Procedure Manual, Section 25, each bill must receive 3 separate readings. And therefore, be it moved that Bill 003-2024, the Property Taxation Amendment Act 2024, proceed to second reading. May I please have a mover? Helka Mattia, Legislature Louise Alm. May I have a seconder? Executive Councillor in Legislature Taylor Baker. All in favor, please raise your hands high. Motion passed and carried unanimously. Thank you, legislatures. Excellent. We now will be able to move this to Advisory Council for their input and to have our second reading and full debate at that time. All right. Now I'd like to move us onto the agenda for our next piece of business, the introduction of the Membership Act Amendment. I'd now like to call upon Chief Swamasat again to speak about Bill 004-2024, the Membership Act Amendment Act, and then read the motion to introduce the bill. Chief?
Hajka Squeakle, and thank you for the feather. Okay, I will now move on to the second bill being introduced at this session, Bill 004-2024, the Membership Act Amendment Act. In 2017, TFN made a series of changes to the Membership Act. These changes were needed to address the unresolved questions from the busy pre-treaty period when the Act was being written to make sure that the requirements for being a Tsawwassen member were clear. It has now been 7 years since those changes to the Membership Act came into effect, and we are beginning to see their impact. For the most part, the 2017 changes have had a positive impact for our nation. We now have a clear set of rules regarding membership eligibility and the requirement for 3 generations of Tsawwassen ancestry has helped to ensure that the new membership applicants have a strong connection to our community. Our membership continues to grow, and each year I'm excited to see the new services and benefits that we are able to offer our members. However, in the process of strengthening the eligibility requirements for the new Tsawwassen members, we place some of our current members at a disadvantage in ways that were not expected. In particular, the decision to prohibit members from being enrolled in a foreign Indigenous entity has caused hardship for some of our members and threatened to separate our friends and relations from the Tsawwassen community. Members who have been a part of our nation for many years are being forced to choose between being Tsawwassen and having access to necessities such as housing, employment, and social assistance when they live outside Canada. Although this problem was implemented with the best of intentions, the benefit of hindsight has helped us realize that these changes have not been positive for all members of our community. The past 7 years have also revealed serious challenges for implementing the prohibition due to its potential to conflict with the privacy rights of members under the Tsawwassen law. These challenges have placed staff in an uncomfortable position as they cannot implement a law that has proven to be divisive in our community. After consultation with the Enrollment Committee earlier this year, Executive Council now believes that the best path forward is to remove the dual membership prohibition from the Membership Act. This is the purpose of Bill 004-2024, the Membership Act Amendment Act, which I will now read. Motion to introduce Bill 002-2024, the Membership Act Amendment Act 2024. Whereas certain amendments to the Membership Act in 2017 included the addition of a prohibition on Tsawwassen members also holding membership in foreign Indigenous entities. And whereas Tsawwassen First Nation has heard representations from members indicating the application of such a restriction would cause significant personal hardship to members living in the United States who wish to maintain their connection to Tsawwassen. And whereas this restriction is difficult to enforce due to privacy considerations and provides no significant benefit to Tsawwassen First Nation. Whereas the Enrollment Committee has expressed its support for the proposed amendments set out in Bill 004-2024. And whereas the proposed amendments set out in Bill 004-2024 will benefit Tsawwassen First Nation by permitting members to maintain their connection to Tsawwassen First Nation. Therefore, it be moved that Bill 00-2024, the Membership Amendment Act 2024, be introduced for the Tsawwassen Legislature's consideration, debate, and approval.
Hechka, Chief Squamosat. So Chief Squamosat has moved this motion. Do I have a seconder? Tehuilam, Legislature Bryce Williams. All in favor, please raise your hands high. This motion has been carried unanimously. We're now moved into, this motion has passed. Thank you very much. I would now like to invite, this is one of our first times in a long time. I'd like to invite our General Counsel, Mary Childs, to give us a brief overview of Bill 004-2024. And as you can see, Mary is joining us remotely. Welcome, Mary. I'm not sure how we're going to manage the feather here, so maybe Ryder, you can pretend to give it to her. There we go. Mary, the floor is yours.
Hechka Squeakle and Hechka to the feather runner for the virtual feather. I am sorry that I'm unable 2016. So those are the general requirements to be a member. I don't know if you can still see the slideshow. It's not showing on my screen, the PowerPoint. But the next page of the PowerPoint talks about the restrictions on who can be a member, and those restrictions are what this act or what this bill is proposing to change. Because in addition to the eligibility criteria, an individual wishing to be a Tsawwassen member must not be a member of another First Nation, Métis, or Inuit group that is a signatory to a treaty, must not be enrolled under another land claims agreement in Canada, must not be on an Indian Act banned list, and must not be a member of a foreign Indigenous entity. And that final requirement of not being a member of a foreign Indigenous entity is one of the provisions that was added to the Act in 2017. The definition of foreign Indigenous entity is an Indigenous group outside of Canada which provides benefits to its members and includes, without limitation, American Indian tribes and Alaskan Native entities. So that's what the current Act says. Highlighted in yellow is the provision that would be amended by this bill, as well as that definition. So if we could move to the next slide. What is being proposed in this bill are two changes. First, removing that highlighted section in yellow that you saw in the previous slide, the prohibition on enrollment in a foreign Indigenous entity, and also removing that definition of foreign Indigenous entity, which has no place in the Act other than with respect to that prohibition. So the bill, in making those two changes, would reverse the prohibition on foreign Indigenous entity membership, and specifically American tribal enrollment, which was introduced in 2017. So now I want to talk a little bit about the reasons behind this. So if you could move to the next slide. The reasons for the amendments. First, we start with the practical implementation challenges that TFN can't get the information that would be needed to enforce this restriction. Why? Well, first, TFN has no authority outside Canada to request information on enrollment. Secondly, there's no central enrollment in the United States. So Canada has a central registry, referred to colloquially as the Indian Register, and it's checking that one registry will tell you whether an individual is enrolled in any of other Canadian Indigenous entity, First Nation, or land claims agreement, or Indian Act banned. But since there's no one registry in the United States, if we wanted to check, we'd have to approach the individual nations. Finally, privacy laws make it difficult to collect information. We have, for good reason, laws that protect the privacy of all Tsawwassen members, and they make it extremely difficult for us to collect this information, or even if we have the information, if we've obtained it accidentally or in the course of some other work, we cannot use it for these purposes. So that's the practical side of it. The next reasons set out on the following slide are member well-being. Potentially affected members have told Executive Council and the Enrollment Committee that the prohibition will harm them. First, it will cause a loss of connection. People with Tsawwassen ancestry may be separated from their Tsawwassen community. Second, a loss of benefits. TFN is not in a position to provide its members outside of Canada with benefits like jobs or homes or health and social services. They need U.S. enrollment to get those supports. And finally, uncertainty. The situation is really stressful for members and staff who cannot apply the law due to privacy concerns, whether those are members who suspect that somebody else might be covered by this prohibition, or staff who may have some information that they cannot share with the enrollment committee. So the next slide talks about some additional reasons, and there are 3 of them here. One, legal risks. It's possible that TFN could face a legal challenge from a member who is unenrolled because of the prohibition. This restriction isn't something that was contemplated in the rules that TFN agreed to in Canada at the time of the treaty, and there may be some issues with respect to the Constitution, the TFN Constitution. Secondly, when the 2017 changes were approved, it appears that the engagement materials were not very clear with respect to the question of how these changes would affect current members. And finally, even when these provisions were considered before the 2017 changes, there was a community vote, but only 50 people out of TFN's more than 500 members voted for this prohibition. So it's a very small percentage of TFN members who supported it. And as we just mentioned, the materials that informed them about its effect were not understood the same way by everybody. There might have been some issues with respect to the clarity. So that's the change that, those are the reasons behind the proposal to change this. If we can move on to the next slide, I just want to talk briefly about the Enrollment Committee, because the Enrollment Committee has been involved in the work that's gone into Executive Council's consideration of this issue. The Enrollment Committee's responsibilities under the Act include processing member applications, considering evidence and documentation of Tsawwassen ancestry, providing direction to the enrollment registrar, and determining when and whether an individual is eligible to be enrolled. So the committee members are really the experts on how the Act works in practice, and on how it affects current and potential members. Additionally, they are, of course, the ones who would be faced with all of the challenges that I mentioned previously about trying to enforce it, and about having to make decisions that would really have a very serious impact on the small number of members who might be affected by it. So next slide, please. The Enrollment Committee was not consulted before the 2017 changes. As I understand, there were a lot of time pressures that were being felt with respect to those changes, and for whatever reason, the legislators who voted on it did not have the benefit of the expert input and insights from the committee. This time, the Executive Council has consulted the committee. The committee's had a workshop on the challenges with the prohibition, and more recently has been consulted and discussed the proposed bill at a meeting of the committee. And the Enrollment Committee has asked that its feedback be presented to the legislature. Legislators will not be hearing that this evening, but the report or the feedback from the Enrollment Committee will be provided to legislators at the second reading of this bill, when the feedback from Advisory Council will also be presented. So legislators can expect that they will hear more from the Enrollment Committee when they next consider this at second reading. That is the end of my presentation. If anybody has any questions, I will do my best to answer them.
Heitske, Mary, thank you so much for supporting this legislature remotely. We really appreciate that. That was a great presentation. Just like to remind the legislatures, we are in the first reading, and I would ask for any clarification questions about the bill, remembering that we will have an opportunity for full debate during second reading. Are there any questions about the bill after Mary's presentation from legislators? All right, thank you, Mary. I'd now like to refer this bill to Advisory Council for study and ask, I'll read the motion now to move this bill to second reading. Oopsie, sorry about that, everyone. Motion to move Bill 004-2024, the Membership Act, Amendment Act 2024 to second reading. Whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature has authority under Section 512C of the Constitution Act to enact Tsawwassen laws. Whereas under the Legislature Rules and Procedures Manual, Section 25, each bill must receive 3 separate readings. Therefore, be it moved that Bill 004-2024, the Membership Amendment Act 2024, proceed to second reading. May I have a mover? Legislature Marianne Adams. May I have a seconder? Legislature Halka Mattia. All in favor, please raise your hands. High. Motion has passed unanimously. This bill has now been moved to second reading. Haitchka Legislatures, great work. I'm very happy with the progress that we've made today. I think that we have now finished the formal business that we have planned for tonight's meeting. We really did some great work, and we've got the table set now for our next meetings to engage in some debate and ask some questions and be curious about the amendments as we proceed into our next meeting, which will have that work as well as some other reports and the other items of the session agenda that we talked about. I would like to extend my gratitude again to Elder Quistania, Ruth Adams, for with her opening prayer, to Wapio and Kukimisot, Frank Campbell and Angeline Splachton for their drumming. I echo Luxton's words about the importance and the power of the drum and how it starts us off in a good way. And to Ryder, it looks like everybody followed the rules today, Ryder, and that's good. That's good. So we appreciate the respect that you've given our feather runner by waiting for him, and thank you for, I think we'll probably put, if you're back on Thursday, we'll probably put you to work a little bit more. I'm sure there'll be more questions next Thursday. And so, but thank you again, Ryder, for coming here. We always appreciate our youth to come out. Thank you to Connie Adams, my relative, for the table song, for making sure that we take care of the blessing for our food. And to our wonderful cooks from our Recreation and Events Department who prepared a wonderful meal for us tonight. It's always busy work to do that. And for some of the people that have cooked for us before, you know all the work that goes into preparing the meal for our legislative sessions. And so we're very grateful for that tonight. Thank you to the elders that came and stayed, and the elders that came and then had to leave. Our advisory council members that are here and present, we thank you for here and observing and witnessing the work. Our Tsawwassen people, our Tsawwassen Misteuch, for being here or being online. Our staff, again, for giving up your evenings and all the hard work that you do to prepare this for us, those that are here working on it and those that are just staying to support the event. And that anybody that's here watching on live stream, our Vimeo channel, thank you very much. I think that I will adjourn the meeting, and there's a ceremonial procession. Wapio and Kukimisot will drum us out. Haitchka, OCM, Exnet.